The air in the studio was charged with anticipation as the live broadcast prepared to go on air. The stage lights cast a warm glow over the sleek, modern set, where a prominent liberal talk show host, Dana Grayson, sat confidently behind her desk. Known for her sharp tongue and provocative interviews, Dana had made a name for herself by challenging high-profile guests, often pushing them to their limits. Today, her guest was none other than Barron Trump. At just 18 years old, Barron had managed to keep a low profile despite the media frenzy surrounding his family. Unlike his father, Donald Trump, Barron rarely sought the spotlight, and his reserved demeanor had only fueled public curiosity about him. This was his first major public interview, and the media was abuzz with speculation about what he might say. Dana, however, saw this as an opportunity. To her, Barron was an easy target, a young, inexperienced individual with a last name that carried immense weight but also polarizing opinions. She planned to use this interview to dismantle any notion that Barron could be more than a shadow of his father. As the countdown to live broadcast began, Barron walked onto the stage with a quiet confidence. Dressed in a sharp navy suit and tie, he towered over Dana, his composed expression betraying none of the nervousness one might expect from someone his age. He extended a hand to her, and she shook it with a practiced smile. "Welcome to the show, Barron," Dana began, her tone polite but edged with a hint of challenge. "Thank you for having me," Barron replied, his deep voice calm and measured. The audience, a mix of supporters and skeptics, clapped politely as the two took their seats. Dana wasted no time diving into her line of questioning. "Barron, you've grown up in one of the most high-profile families in the world," Dana started. "Your father is known for his boldness, his outspokenness. But you, on the other hand, have been relatively quiet. Why is that?" Barron smiled slightly. "I believe in listening more than speaking," he said. "You learn more that way." The audience murmured in approval, but Dana pressed on. "That's an interesting approach, but some might say it's because you lack the experience or the intellect to engage in meaningful discourse. What do you say to those people?" Barron didn't flinch. He met Dana's gaze head-on, his expression unchanging. "I'd say that underestimating someone based on their age or demeanor is a mistake. Everyone has something to contribute if you take the time to listen." Dana's smile tightened. She wasn't expecting him to hold his ground so easily. "Fair enough," she said, shifting in her seat. "But let's get specific. You've recently expressed interest in issues like technology and education reform. Do you actually believe you have the knowledge or the experience to discuss such complex topics?" Barron leaned forward slightly, his voice steady. "I'm 18 years old. I don't claim to know everything, but I'm willing to learn. And I think the first step to solving complex issues is admitting what you don't know and surrounding yourself with people who do." The audience clapped again, louder this time. Dana's frustration was palpable, but she maintained her composure. Dana decided it was time to up the ante. "Let's talk about your father's presidency," she said, her tone sharp. "A lot of people have criticized his policies, his rhetoric, his leadership. Do you agree with everything he did? Or are there areas where you think he could have done better?" Barron paused, his expression thoughtful. "No leader is perfect," he said finally. "My father made decisions based on what he believed was best for the country. Whether people agree or disagree with those decisions is their right. What matters is learning from the past and focusing on how we can do better moving forward." The audience erupted in applause, much to Dana's dismay. She had hoped to corner Barron into either blindly defending his father or openly criticizing him, but his balanced response left little room for attack. As the interview progressed, Dana continued to probe, but Barron remained composed, his answers thoughtful and measured. He spoke about his passion for education reform, emphasizing the importance of providing equal opportunities for all students, regardless of their background. He discussed the role of technology in shaping the future and the need for ethical considerations in its development. By the time the interview reached its final segment, the mood in the studio had shifted. What began as a potential ambush had turned into an opportunity for Barron to showcase his intelligence, humility, and vision. Even Dana, though reluctant to admit it, couldn't help but acknowledge that she had underestimated him. As the interview reached its final moments, Dana Grayson leaned back in her chair, her confident smirk faltering ever so slightly. It was clear to her and the audience that this wasn't going the way she had planned. She had expected to expose Barron Trump as a product of privilege, someone unprepared to handle serious scrutiny. Instead, she had encountered a poised and thoughtful young man who not only held his own, but had earned the respect of everyone watching. Still, Dana wasn't ready to give up. She adjusted her posture, clasping her hands together as she prepared her final question, the one she hoped would finally trip him up. "All right, Barron," she began, her tone still polite, but with a sharper edge. "One last question. There are millions of young people out there who don't have the opportunities you've had: elite education, financial stability, and the platform your last name provides. Some might say that you're out of touch with the struggles of ordinary Americans. What do you have to say to them?" The audience grew silent, leaning forward in their seats. Dana's question hung in the air, a deliberate attempt to corner Barron into admitting his privilege or appearing defensive. But Barron didn't flinch. Instead, he took a deep breath, his calm demeanor unshaken. "You're absolutely right," he said, his voice steady. "I've been incredibly fortunate in my life. I've had access to resources and opportunities that most people don't. But I don't take that for granted, and I don't see it as an excuse to ignore the struggles others face. In fact, it's the opposite. I believe that those of us who have been given much have a responsibility to give back." The audience broke into applause, but Barron wasn't finished. He leaned forward slightly, his tone becoming more impassioned. "I'm only 18, and I know I still have a lot to learn, but I believe change starts with listening. Listening to the stories of people who faced hardships I can't even imagine. Listening to their ideas, their solutions, their dreams. I don't want to just speak for others. I want to amplify their voices and work alongside them to create meaningful change." Dana opened her mouth to respond, but Barron wasn't done. His voice grew stronger, more confident. "And to the young people watching, I want to say this. Your circumstances don't define you. Your struggles don't limit you. You're stronger and smarter than you realize, and you have the power to create the future you want. If I can use my platform to support and uplift those efforts, then that's exactly what I'll do." The room erupted into applause, the loudest it had been all evening. Even Dana, who prided herself on maintaining her composure, looked momentarily stunned. She glanced at the audience, then back at Barron, as if realizing she had underestimated him completely. As the cameras cut to a commercial break, Dana turned to Barron, her professional demeanor slipping for just a moment. "I'll admit," she said quietly, "you handled yourself better than I expected." Barron smiled politely. "Thank you," he said simply. "I appreciate the opportunity to share my perspective." Dana nodded, her expression thoughtful. It wasn't the outcome she had planned for, but even she couldn't deny that Barron had earned the respect of everyone in the room. After the show, the social media world exploded with reactions to Barron Trump's appearance. Clips of his responses went viral, with hashtags like #BarronTrump and #respect trending across platforms. People from all walks of life chimed in, praising his composure and insight. "He's wise beyond his years," one commenter wrote. "Barron Trump just changed my perspective," another said. "Whether you like his family or not, you can't deny the kid has class," a journalist tweeted. Back at home, Barron sat with his mother, Melania Trump, as they watched the clips together. She placed a hand on his shoulder, her face glowing with pride. "You were incredible, Barron," she said softly. "Your father will be proud." Barron nodded, a small smile on his face. "I just wanted to show people who I really am," he said. "Not just a name, but a person who cares." Melania squeezed his shoulder. "And you did. More than you know." The interview would go on to be one of the most talked about moments of the year. For Barron, it marked the beginning of a journey, not as a shadow of his father, but as his own person, determined to make a difference. And for those who had doubted him, it was a humbling reminder that sometimes the quietest voices carry the greatest wisdom. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that inspire and challenge us to grow. What would you have done if you were in his shoes? Let us know in the comments below.